That's pretty much everyone there. There's a few, yeah, I can see a few people still joining now, but we'll get going. So, as I said, thanks all for joining. Good morning. We're doing a session today on Teams Voice and how to consolidate your telephony into Teams and save money at the same time. Speaking today, so myself, I'm James. I'm the strategy director at SmartDesk. We're an IT service company that works exclusively with charities and not-for-profit organisations. And joining me, she's actually just rejoining because her browser's crashed, is Holly, who's a Microsoft Voice product expert from Gamma, who provide the telephony part of the Teams ecosystem, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on. Just a bit of housekeeping. So you'll see there's a Q&A box on the bottom there that you can type questions. Feel free to pop in questions as soon as they come up in your mind. They'll be visible by the curators, and then we'll publish them and answer them. And probably at the end, we've got some time at the end there. And then there's a service sheet in the download section where you can download an overview of what we're talking about today as well. And then there's a section on the On24 webpage there to book a meeting with us, with myself, if you want to follow up afterwards and talk about how we can implement Teams Voice specifically for your charity. And we've got Inga from Gamma in the background, by the way, working the magic and pulling the levers, keeping it all working. So thank you, Inga, for your support and for fielding the questions too as we go through. So just to cover the agenda, so I'm going to give an overview of what Teams Voice actually is. There's a bit of an impending deadline coming up at the end of next year as well to do with telephony switch off, so I'll talk about that. I'll talk about some of the benefits specific to charities. Most of the audience today are non-profit organisations, which is good. That's exactly who we work with. Holly, who's back with us, hello Holly, is going to do a demo. So she's going to take you through what Teams Voice actually looks like. It's incredibly simple because it's a number pad in Teams, but there's lots of other features like transferring calls and things like that Holly will take us through, and also give a bit of a demo of the back end and how you can do administration and change users around, change hunt groups and all that sort of stuff. I'll talk about how to actually make it happen and what the costs are from a non-profit perspective as well. And as I said, do pop questions in the chat there in the Q&A box as we go through or at the end, and we'll go through any questions you might have. Very quickly, so that you know who we are, most of you might not have heard of us. We're an IT provider, as I said at the beginning, whose sole focus is charities. Our vision is that charities and non-profits have the right technology, tools, IT leadership and support in place to fulfill their ambitions in this ever-changing world of tech. And our mission is to empower non-profits to deliver more through better and more efficient use of IT. We do tons and tons of work around consolidating and optimizing things like Microsoft 365. The sector's our sole focus. We work with about 50 or 60 charities. As I said, we're about 70 staff, about 11 years old, and privately owned, so we don't have shareholders pulling at our coattails either. The services that we deliver are really around IT strategy, IT support, cybersecurity and project management. And as part of that, we do a lot of work, as I said, around consolidating things like telephony, cybersecurity into, more often than not, the Microsoft stack because of what they do for the charity sector. So we have a lot of expertise in that area. And one of our USPs, I suppose, is that we do provide IT leadership and strategy as a service. So my day job is helping charities that might not have a big internal IT function to actually articulate what their IT strategy and roadmap might look like. And we're lucky enough to work across the sector with this kind of range. This is a few of the organisations that we work with. Some are really huge, lots of mid-sized ones in there as well. And we're very privileged to work across so many organisations, and we kind of see it as our purpose to share a lot of the good practice that other organisations are benefiting from with people like yourselves on sessions like today. The final about us bit is just our accreditations and expertise. So we're in the top 150 service providers of Microsoft who have a non-profit focus worldwide. They came and told us the other day. So we do focus a lot on that, hence the Teams subject today. We also partner with people like Gamma who do internet connectivity and telephony, and we have quite a few sector partners, so Charity IT Leaders and Akiva. Some of those organisations your organisations might be a member of, and through them we're able to offer additional discounts and free advice and things like that. So yeah, that's enough about us, I think. And we've got a quick poll actually before we dive into the Teams voice section. So on the screen there are 4 options around what best describes your current telephony arrangements. And I'm guessing because you're here, you want to make it better. So we're keen just to sort of get a sense of the room really. If people don't mind just answering that poll, if Inga can work your magic and present that poll to the delegates, that'd be great. Hopefully you should have a button to vote. Yeah. Brill, thank you. Inga, do you want to reveal the results, please? Yeah, okay. So that's as I was expecting, actually. So the vast majority of you have a standalone telephone system that isn't part of Teams. It might well be VoIP already, so it might already work over the internet. I think the days of fixed telephone systems are sort of over, but you've probably got, and that's what we find mostly in the sector actually, that you've got a VoIP phone system, might be presented via a little app on your laptop that's separate to Teams, or might even still be a desk phone. So yeah, that's pretty much on par with certainly the conversations that I've been having over the last kind of 12 months. And actually the good news is that that's actually the use case, the business case for moving to Teams Voice is absolutely self-explanatory in that situation. Interesting, some of you have got a phone system that's already integrated into Teams as well, actually, so it'd be interesting to hear in the Q&A sort of where that might need improving, because you're obviously here for a reason. So why, that hasn't displayed, okay, yeah, so it's an animation, the dreaded animation on a slide. So why Teams Voice? So I think it's fair to say that COVID killed the desk phone, didn't it? Those grey bits of plastic that we had on our desks that we used to go into every single day and take telephone calls with buttons, those things no longer exist. But telephony very much still has a place. I imagine most of you have just got your phone system forwarding to your mobiles, and that's the glory of your phone system, and that's it. That's all it does. So telephony is still needed. But actually we're kind of not using it how it could be used, and it's certainly not optimized. I think it also brought in bring your own device into scope like never before, didn't it? So we saw loads of charities with staff working on multiple devices. They might have had even a desktop in the office and then a personal laptop, or we see volunteers that are out using their own iPads or tablets or whatever. And that obviously presents a lot of challenges around how you get phone calls to those people without just resorting to them using their mobile phone, and that might be their personal mobile phone. By the end of 2025, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a bit of a deadline around what's called the PSTN switch off. So Openreach, who provide all the telephony infrastructure for the whole of the country, are switching off the old copper phone lines that we all used to have, and those used to carry, or still do carry, a lot of telephone calls. Those are being completely ceased by the end of December next year, 2025, so you won't be able to use them anymore. So there's a kind of driver to do this, in addition to the post-pandemic mopping up telephony as a whole. But on the plus side, it was a great time, the pandemic, for adoption, and it was a great time for Microsoft if you had shares in that, which I don't. But actually, we're all now pretty much using and living within Teams day to day. There might be some of you that use Zoom out there, or a few other platforms as well, but most organizations use Teams in some way, shape or form. So actually, from that adoption piece, we're already familiar, at least, with the application. And actually, telephony, there was an interesting bit of research we found the other day that actually a phone call is a quarter of the length of a meeting, and actually often a much more efficient way of speaking to someone. Obviously within your organization you can just chat, but externally, just having that 5-minute conversation, just ringing them in the old-fashioned way of doing things, is actually a lot more efficient than, you know, bouncing emails backwards and forwards. Can we arrange a time for a meeting and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think probably the new desk phone is the Teams application, and that's running on your laptop, on your mobile phone, whatever device that is, and that is your landline, if you want to call it that. Just moving that slide along. There you go. So what is Teams Voice? I mean, in a nutshell, it's quite simple. It's simply a telephone call that either you make outbound from the Teams app within it, or you receive it on your Teams app. You use a headset to answer it, or you use a speaker on your laptop, whatever. It's really as simple as that. So the Teams app obviously is a constantly evolving and very sophisticated app, and it's normally a lot more advanced than the little app you might have on your current phone system, which is kind of built bespoke by potentially a smaller company and doesn't maybe develop at the pace of Teams. And obviously it's not integrated with all of the rest of the Microsoft world, like your Outlook and your shared files and SharePoint, OneDrive, etc. So it's really just phone calls coming in and out of that app. It means that you can take that landline phone number, your 020 or whatever phone number, with you wherever you go on your mobile. You just open the Teams app, there's a dial pad within there, and you just make a phone call out. So it's kind of really as simple as that. It's a really good solution where you've got staff using mobile phones, personal or otherwise, because it means that when they're outbound calling, they don't have to disclose their personal mobile phone number. If they then leave the organisation, or if they're a volunteer that only does a few days a week, you know, they're then disclosing their personal number to whoever they're calling. So it's a way to keep phone calls, and actually the governance of those phone calls, we'll talk about call recording in a bit, within your organisation's environment. So it's a really good solution for that, and it just presents ultimately a better solution for actually making and receiving telephone calls that's in one place and not in a separate place. So it's not actually as complicated, much more complicated than that. I think specifically for non-profits, like many of you on the call today, you know, most of our customers run help and advice lines, and that can all be done within Teams. So you don't have to then juggle mobiles, as I say. You know, if you work with volunteers, in most Microsoft plans, the Teams app is either free to them or incredibly low cost. Saves them having to use their personal mobile number and disclose that to the outside world. It works with contact centers, so your help and advice lines, if that is run within a contact center environment, then it integrates with that as well. And call recording is quite possible to do that within the same cloud as well. So actually you can access those and govern those calls and QA them and that sort of stuff, all in one place too. You can still get handsets, so there's still a case for you know, receptionists or you know, large teams. You might actually have a need for that. There might be an accessibility need where actually a physical handset is still the right choice, and they just work over the internet. They can just sit at the person's home and just plug into their router, and that's it. They just work seamlessly with that. And likewise, you know, we have clients that run sheltered housing units, for example. So the site manager's running around up and down the stairs, has a decked cordless phone clipped to their belt, and that's Teams compatible as well. So that means that they're still part of that same phone system. So it all works with any old school traditional phone system sort of setup. It really does correlate one-to-one. The admin of it you can do yourself. You don't need to log into a really complicated, weird kind of admin center to make changes. It's all done within the Microsoft Teams admin center because it's fully integrated. So that's already part of Microsoft 365. So you can self-service, or obviously with us, we can do it for you as well. And part of the onboarding will train you on how to do that self-service, but we can also make those changes for you really quickly too. And it, as you'd expect, it comes with the features that you would have had in your old phone system, like hunt groups, twinning, where you have it rings on your desk phone, so it rings on your laptop and your mobile phone at the same time, is inherent. That always happens. You know, things like voicemail to email, sends a little transcript to your Outlook, and you can click on the file to listen to the voicemail straight from within your email application on your mobile phone, rather than having to dial a voicemail number. Out of hours call handling, there are loads. I'm maybe spoiling Holly's thunder, so I'll stop there, but there's lots of kind of traditional typical features that are all included at no extra cost. And yeah, the other thing, that last point really is the consolidation. As I said at the beginning, you know, there's a lot of energy in the sector as a whole going into consolidating and getting rid of all these millions of third-party apps and rationalizing them, and Teams Voice would be another one. So the billing's all done alongside your Microsoft licenses. It comes as one with your other Microsoft license. It's one invoice for all of your Microsoft cloud services. And as a non-profit, you get access to the non-profit pricing on Teams Voice. So I'll talk about costs at the end, but it's you benefit from that. So I think it's about 70% discount for the license itself too. Great. So I'm going to hand over to Holly, who's going to run us through a demo.
Thank you so much, James, and good morning, everyone. As James said, I'm Holly from Gamma, and I specialise in Microsoft Teams Phone. So today we're going to run through a couple of Teams demos. So first, going to demo the Teams application itself, just to really show you how simple it is to use and how easy it is to answer and make calls within that Teams application. So you can kind of get an idea of that simplified use, and also the fact that there's going to be very limited training needed to onboard your users. We'll then swiftly move on to the Teams Admin Center, so that management portal. I'm going to show you how it's all fully integrated, and I'll do a quick run through of what an auto attendant and a call queue looks like within that space, just so you've got an idea, again, of how easy it is to manage. But if you are a bit nervous about it, like James said, SmartDesk can support you with that. So we're going to do those two demos, and then I'm going to run through a couple of extra bits. So what you get included additional on top of your Teams Phone solution, and a tiny bit on call recording as well, if that is a need for you. So let's begin. I flip on over to the demo. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that now. So this is the actual Teams Admin Center. I'm flipping them around now, I'm confusing things. But as you can see, it looks very easy to use. Under that voice section, we're going to see all the numbers sitting natively within that Teams Admin Center. If you just click on a number, click edit, you can easily assign it to a user. So simple as, and now that user is voice enabled for Teams, so they're able to use that application within that space. I'll just cancel that off for now. If we go down into auto attendants, this is where we can see a list of auto attendants we've already created. If I click on one that I've already made before, we can see that the number assigned to that auto attendant, we can click the time zone, the language we want to use as well. It's just a series of options that you can run through to see how it works. So if I go in to create a call flow, I can type in a greeting message or upload a file. I can also go and click play menu options. So this is where I can, again, have another greeting message. So where you'd say press 1 for this, press 2 for that. Go in, add in a key, pop in, let's say press 1, and then search who we'd want to pass that call on to. So you can do a voicemail, a shared voicemail, a call queue, what have you, all within that space. So you can kind of get an idea of how simple it is to use and easy to onboard. But again, don't panic if you don't want to do this, and James and the team can help you there. Lovely. So if I go on to call flow for out of hours, if you've got an advice or a helpline that needs to be active out of hours, this is how you can kind of set that up, just to ensure that all those calling into your non-profit can be directed to someone to answer that call. So again, we can decide how that call's dealt with. We can even have a whole extra auto attendant for it too. We can pop in greeting messages or redirect to a certain number or user. If you go into holiday call settings, this is where you can set up like Christmas or New Year, and then dial scope is for anyone that you'd want to be reachable through the auto attendant. One last thing, and this is the same for call queues as well, is that authorized users. So if you want to have certain users that are able to edit the platform, you can pop that in there. Now we can go into the call queue. So this is where you can have attendant routing, and you can have serial routing, round the robin. So attendant routing is ringing everyone at once. Round the robin is where you can, make sure people are calls are equally distributed, and then you can see, you can edit how long agents are notified for. Again, along that theme of those advice and helplines, this is kind of exception handling. So if there's not enough people in the call queue, or all the agents are busy, or you can have a call timeout as well, you can redirect the call to a call queue or another auto attendant or a user or a voicemail. However you see fit, you can manage that. And again, we've got that authorized users piece too. Lovely. So as you can hopefully see, it's a really simple admin center to use, and won't be any trouble getting used to it. But if you are nervous, again, talk to Smart Desk and they'll be able to help.
Just
Lovely.
for the purpose of the group, Holly, what do you mean by auto attendant?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So auto attendant is essentially where, let's say you've got your phone system and a customer calls in. So someone calls in and they'll have an option. So they can have option to press 1 for the helpline, press 2 for, I don't know, doing a complaint, what have you. You can have those options in place. So you can redirect calls to certain departments or users or voicemail, what have you. So yeah, that's what an auto attendant is. Great. Thanks, James. Thank you. Lovely, cool. So I'm now hopefully going to move on over to the actually using the Teams app. Oh no, not that one. Let's try this one. Here we go. Apologies. Bear with me a second. Lovely. Okay, so this is the actual Teams application. So hopefully what you can see is we've got a list of all our calls, our missed, our incoming, and then our voicemails. So this is within the Teams application under calls. You can see it's fully integrated in there. You can listen back to your voicemails or even read them, as you can see on the screen. So really easy to use. You won't need much training to get up and running. If your agent wants to go and make a call, they can type in the number on the dial pad, either on their laptop keypad or on their mobile phone, even if they've got Teams downloaded, or they can go in and straight away call someone within their speed dial. So this is an example call. I'm doing it as a demo, so it might take a bit of time to load. But as you can see, it looks identical to a Teams call. So again, it's going to be really easy to pick up and use if you've got people already using Teams within your nonprofit organisation. I can go into transfer a call by clicking the transfer option. It's also got the option to transfer, consult and transfer. So if you want to consult with an agent before transferring the call over, you can do so. So for this example, I'm using Miriam, and I can either chat with her or send the call straight to Miriam, like so, by using the drop down. I can cancel that off and then resume that call. I can also put a call on hold as well, so simple call on hold, and you'll be able to decide the hold call music within the Teams admin center, like I showed before. We've got that dial pad, so you can type in any numbers there, and then we can end that call and rate the call quality. Most excitingly, I like to think, is that settings section. So if you click those 3 dots, click settings, and then go into calls, you can see we've got a few options there. So we can also ring someone else or your mobile number if, for example, a call's coming in. Like James was saying earlier, you can have simultaneous ring for your devices. So I can pop my mobile number in there if I want, to ensure that when that call's coming into my user, it can also call my number. This is where you set up how calls are dealt with if they're unanswered. So you can send it to another call queue just to make sure that whoever's ringing you, that call is dealt with, and if that's particularly of importance for your nonprofit. We do have different ringtones there as well, so we can alert you differently from there. Lovely. I'm just going to the voicemail settings now. So you can see I can upload different voicemail announcements, or another really nice thing is I can type it out. So if you hate the sound of your own voice, which I do, you can do that. Or you can have another really cool setting. So you can have your out of office voicemail automatically turned on when you've got an auto reply in Outlook. So again, super easy to use, super easy to manage, and a definite simple one to get you started on your Teams telephony journey. Lovely, fabulous. I hope you found that useful. I'm now going to dive into some little extra bits. So as you hopefully saw from the demo, it's very easy, that management piece. So if you're non-profit and you're managing that non-profit phone system, you can see the Teams Admin Center is very similar to any other type of Microsoft suite. So it's quite easy to pick up. But again, if you need that additional support, it is out there for you. Those numbers are fully integrated within that Teams Admin Center. There's no additional portal you need to get in order to get started. So that reduces complexity and training as well. So really quick setup. You just plug it in, and then users are able to use that cool functionality within that Teams app. You can see how easy it is, how similar and how the similar feel it has to any standard Teams call, so it won't be difficult to pick up. One thing to mention as well, Gamma and SmartDesk are using what's called Operator Connect. And what this means is we've got a close relationship with Microsoft. So we have basically a direct highway into their network, which means we can guarantee quality of service, and we can also say we have a shared SLA of 99.99% uptime with Microsoft, although we've had 100% uptime since launch. So you can kind of be assured that all those callers calling into your nonprofit will be able to connect, and you'll be able to manage those calls through Teams. Other thing to mention is we have fraud management included. So if you're concerned about bill shock or getting an enormous bill for international calls, we can pre-configure fraud management just to kind of give you a bit of peace of mind. One last thing to mention is our included inbound management portal. So I'm going to go into a bit more detail around this now, just to give you a bit of an idea of how it can really benefit your non-profit or charity for those inbound calls. So here we go. It's all around that disaster recovery and business continuity. If you've got a helpline, if you've got an advice line that needs to be 24/7 operational, this inbound portal is going to be really useful to you. So essentially what it does, and the key thing that it does, and that what really it brings to the table, is if you have an inbound number for a helpline, let's say, and let's say worst case scenario, Teams goes down, we can set up an automatic divert within this platform to automatically divert that call to another destination. So if Teams goes down, you're covered. You don't need to be worried about what happens if Teams goes down. It can automatically be diverted to, let's say, a group of mobiles or another hung group that you can create within the platform itself. So again, super useful there for your nonprofit organization. You can also build what's called business continuity call plans. So these are call plans that you can set up. So let's say, oh my goodness, there's a fire alarm in one of your offices. You can set up a business continuity call plan for this disaster scenario. So when this happens, you can simply quickly log onto the portal, click enact business continuity call plans, and now all those inbound calls are diverted to the destination of your choice. So there's lots of different features as well within that inbound platform. We've got hunt groups, we've got auto attendance again, so press 1 for helpline, press 2 for complaints. We also have things like area-based routing and whatnot. So there's a plethora of things that you can manage. You can basically replicate what you have in your standard Teams phone system within this inbound portal. It also comes with some additional reporting. So we can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, we've got performance statistics. So these are a series of reports based on where your callers are calling from, what are my call trends over the last 6 months. So this is the amount of inbound calls you're receiving over the last 6 months, how many customer calls are coming through, and then when are my busy hours. Let's say you've got a helpline and you're concerned about when you're getting peak times, and you want to ensure that you've got enough agents to assist with that helpline. That busy hours report may be really useful just to make sure that you can have the right amount of people at the right time to answer those calls. We also have what's called advanced statistics. So this is essentially another statistics section of the portal, which will have a list of all your inbound calls that you're receiving over the last 6 months. So you're able to filter by inbound number as well. Really useful information at your fingertips. If you don't want to keep logging into the portal, don't worry. We can sign you up to daily, weekly, and/or monthly reports sent to up to 3 email addresses. So you can go in and have those reports sent to you without even having to log into the portal. That being said, all these statistics are downloadable from the portal itself. So if you do want to go in and download those statistics, you are more than welcome to. Fabulous. So we're now going to dive into call recording. So we have partnered with a company called Dubber to provide that call recording. They have 3 packages to choose from. They are very compliant as well. So we're MiFID II and GDPR compliant. It is one portal, but all your recordings will be within that space. What I think is really key for this call recording platform, and what I think would really benefit nonprofits like yourselves, is the ability to tag recordings. So let's say you had a particular recording that's very sensitive, you can tag it as sensitive or tag it as helpline call recording, and then you're able to go in and search for that tag within the portal, and it'll bring up all those call recordings for you, ready to go in, listen to from there. The Premier package includes AI sentiment, tone and analysis and transcription. So if you do want extra control over those call recordings, that's a really good option for you. It will automatically tell through scary AI magic whether a call's been particularly angry or sad, or if there's been certain words that has been said as well. So complaints, or if there's a certain phrase that you're most concerned about of people mentioning, you can have automatic notifications set up with that phrase. So certain people within the business are notified when that phrase is mentioned too. So it can be really powerful, especially in this sector, in the non-profit sector, to give you that extra management of those calls and those recordings. It's also all real-time search. So if you go in and search a certain phrase, it's going to bring up, if you've got that Premier package, it's going to bring up a list of all those call recordings where that phrase was said, and because we've got that AI transcription included. So again, super powerful. If you are interested, let us know and we can walk through the process a bit more. But as you can see from the screen on the right hand side, that's kind of an example of that call recording. You can play back using the play and pause button. You've got an overview of the sentiment and tone analysis, and you've also got that transcription within there too. So super easy to use and a really, really powerful tool. Fabulous. Right, I am going to pass back on to James, who's going to talk about the migration process and all things business. But thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Holly. I should add actually that there's lots of really good information in there, and the slides and this recording will be emailed around to everyone afterwards, along with our contact details. So if you want to recap on any of what Holly's just gone through, that will be available. I find the out of office call, that voicemail, really just such a simple little thing that because it's integrated with Outlook, when I put my out of office on and leave the office, I know that anyone calling me will also get my out of hours voicemail to say I'm not working. So that saves them trying to ring you. Leave a message with you, which you then get an email which you're not going to pick up for 2 weeks because you're on holiday. So that's a really little sort of just a tiny little benefit of it being integrated with Microsoft and part of that same world. And the other one actually that people really like is just the fact that you can click phone numbers and it just rings straight within Teams. So someone's email signature has their phone number on it, Outlook picks that up as a phone number, you just click it and it will just pop open Teams and ring them. So it's just just all of this stuff just saves a few clicks in a few seconds, and the overall net effect is really quite a lot of hours saved each month by removing those manual steps. So yeah, do have a recap on the video if you want to go through any of those features or chat to us more in more detail. I can see some questions coming in as well, which is fantastic. So we'll go through those in a bit. Just to touch briefly on the migration process, the steps are on this slide here. The first point is actually, the first step is actually the most common thing is that people take the opportunity to downsize their telephony, because of course in the olden days we gave everyone a phone extension and normally a bit of plastic, and we gave everyone their phone number, and actually times have moved on and not all of your staff need a phone number, and so therefore they take the opportunity to rationalize, get rid of reduce their phone number and user count down to what is right for staff. And we've helped many charities do things like polls and analyzing, do you actually need your phone or not, and that sort of stuff. So do the kind of consolidation and these are the numbers that we want to move across as the first step. Then we'll help map out that call handling. So that's the hunt groups, that's the standard operating hours, the defaults, the DR plan as well. So as Holly mentioned, if Teams is down, what should happen with those calls? Should they go to a group of mobile numbers? That sort of thing. So we'll plan that out, and we just provide templates and walk you through that process. It's really as simple as who gets a phone number, what that phone number will be, and if there's a group or contact center helpline, who would receive those. They map that out. The number porting, so we take your existing numbers, if assuming you want to, which most do, we will take your existing numbers and port them into Teams. That happens on an agreed date, so we would agree between us a date in the future, normally 2 or 3 weeks out, to make that switch happen. That's then set in stone. Then whilst we're waiting for that date, we will then purchase the Microsoft Teams voice licenses, and we'll assign them to the users, so we get access to your 365 tenancy and assign them the Teams voice license and their phone number. We then provide the training. The training is done in person. We also back it up with video and a crib sheet, really for sort of the two personas of the standard person who is just using Teams day in, day out, how to use the dial pad transfer, how to change my voicemail greeting, that sort of stuff. It's a half an hour, 45-minute training session, really lightweight. And then we'll also provide training to your admins or power users if you want. We can do it for you, but most people like the ability to self-serve, so we'll provide that training of the Teams admin center as well for how to actually make changes on the fly as well. The port date happens within a business day. The calls move across. At that point, you're live. That's the project done. We'll then work with you if you need to then cancel down and retire your old phone system and get rid of the plastic and the hardware if you've still got that sort of stuff. And then we move into providing ongoing support. That's through our help desk. Our help desk supports about 5,000 charity staff every day, so they're very well versed to dealing with support requests from your end staff or your admins who just want a reminder on how to make that change in the system. And that's it. It's really lightweight. Typical duration, it's a bit finger and eggs. It depends on the size of your organisation, but 3 to 6 weeks is a very achievable time frame. And just a note to look at your contract date of your existing phone system and sort of plan 2 months back from that, and don't get caught out by the dreaded auto renewal of your current contract, and just plan it that way with us, and then we can make it happen for you. The last slide is just on the costs. So there are 2 elements that make up the license. The first part is the Microsoft license to actually make telephony appear within Teams. So it's called Microsoft Teams Phone Standard, so catchy name. So that's a Microsoft license, and the charity price is £2.60 per user per month. That's the retail price, the same as if you bought it direct. We don't charge a markup or anything else like that. So that's the rack rate for that. And then you then purchase effectively the call bundle. It's your ability to use telephony within Microsoft Teams, so all the features that Holly described, and that's a £5. So the total is £7.60 per user per month for people that need a telephone number. That's actually cheaper than if you were to buy this directly from Microsoft. So Microsoft themselves have said they actually prefer people to use this model of Operator Connect, they call it, because they recognise that they're not telephony experts, like the Gammas of the world. So they actually sort of incentivise people to use this model through a partner like us, and therefore it's actually cheaper than going direct, and it means you don't have to manage all the calling plans. I won't go into it now, but you can purchase it direct. You then have to manage all of your minutes and all of that sort of stuff, and pay with a credit card every month, and it's much more fiddly. It includes 4,000 UK mobile minutes and landline, UK minutes included per user, and that's pooled. So if you were to have 10 users, you'd have 40,000 minutes, which is about 650 hours per month of calling time. So it's essentially unlimited. That's a huge amount of minutes pooled across the whole organisation. There's a tariff sheet as well. So if you're calling international numbers and that sort of thing, there's a tariff sheet on the download section of the portal as well, which shows the pence per minute to non-UK numbers. Yeah, and just the other things on that slide, as I say, it's you get a single monthly invoice billed in arrears. We'll manage the Microsoft licenses for you, and the call recording that Holly mentions via Dubber starts at a £5 per agent per month. You only need to license the people that run your helpline if it's a helpline that you need calls recorded for, and then there are steps up if you want to keep. I think that includes 12 months worth of retention of calls, and there are other steps up to 10 and 20 if you want other features like AI, and if you need 7-year call retention, stuff like that. So those are things that we'll work with you to map out the final what does the cost look like overall for your organization as a follow-up. But yeah, I think that's everything. Actually, that's it on the presentation. To say that the slides, as I said earlier, they're going to be emailed around along with the recording. There's a few resources on this slide just to call out. So our overall Teams Voice offering is on our website. It's worth following us on LinkedIn because we do every day we post a sort of tip on, XYZ charity doing this, or look out for this new emerging bit of technology. And we run quite a few events in person. We've got our next one coming up in November, which is a charity IT winter social at Microsoft in Paddington. And it's a really good chance for non-profits who are involved in some way, shape or form with tech, not necessarily all techies, to actually just come together and just share ideas with each other. So that's on our website. And yeah, I think that's everything. We'll dwell there for the Q&A. I can see we've got about 9 questions. I don't know if Inga, you want to just call them out, if that's okay.
Hi, so the first question around card payments and donations over the phone. Currently use PCI Telecom for donors to enter card details. Is there a Teams option or equivalent?
That's a great question. That's probably one for you, Holly. Do you know if there's a PCI module to pause the call recording and that sort of stuff?
Yes, exactly. So it is something that there are options out there that you can have PCI compliant call recording. It'll be a conversation we'd need to have, as it's not in our standard packages, but there are options out there for you. So basically just get in touch and we can talk about it further. But it's certainly something that we can sort out for you. Perfect.
Okay, next question. Is there any PCI compliance built in, or do we need an additional compliance platform integration?
So you would need an additional compliance integration platform for Teams. There's the great thing, and I always think the magic of Teams is everyone just wants to integrate into it. So quite often there's just a plethora of options of ways to integrate into Teams, and that's kind of what makes it such a good product. Is if there's certain things that are lacking, it's really easy to just get another product, plug it on, and then create the solution of your needs, really. But yes, it would be an additional charge on top there. Fabulous.
Can hunt groups be set up easily?
Yes. So the strange thing about the Teams Admin Center is they kind of class call queues as hunt groups. So if you go in and like we showed on the demo, apologies if it was quite a speedy one, I'm happy to kind of go into a bit more detail as well. But if you go in within that that call queue configuration, it will kind of give you options to create a kind of call queue that is very similar to a hunt group. The biggest difference is it may have on hold music. So I know someone asked a question about music on hold. That is included with Teams. So if you want to create a hunt group without hold music on, what we've had people do in the past is actually upload like a ringing tone just to create that feel of that hunt group. But essentially, yeah, hunt group within Teams is a call queue. You've seen how to do it. If you do need support with building that out, Smart Desk can help there.
And you literally go to the call queue and then just type in the names of who you want. And obviously, because they're your Microsoft 365 users, they just come up, just pose them. Like if you're starting a new chat with someone in Teams, you just see them there. You can drag and drop the order in which the call rings on those extensions, or you can have them all ring at once on those users. The usual hunt group features. So yeah, it's all done via just the Teams Admin Center.
Right, so we've got quite a lot of questions still here. Teams call functions need additional fees or subscriptions already included if we already have Teams?
Yeah, so if you've already got Teams, well, in fact, pretty much everyone will have Teams. What you need to purchase is on that cost slide, the Teams phone standard license. That's the £2.60 per user per month. So what that does is basically it enables the little dial pad section of Microsoft Teams, so the calls section of Teams. So you already have it, but you need to enable the voice bit of it, which is called Teams Phone Standard. We'll manage sort of provisioning that for you, and you get the non-profit rate for £2.60. But yes, that's essentially the answer to that question.
How easy is it to move to an actual phone number to this Teams environment? Is it possible for very old numbers and phone systems?
Yeah, phone. How much detail to go into? Won't go too deep, but yes, your existing phone numbers, even if they're ancient, will be ported. It's called, so migrated into Microsoft Teams. So if you want to take those phone numbers with you because they've existed for years and years out there in the ether, absolutely, that's integral to that migration process there. So we define, you give us your numbers that you need, and often there is you get rid of some. We only port the numbers that you need, no matter where they are, and they all come into one place, and then you see them within Teams, and then that's where you can do the management and assign the phone number to the person and that sort of stuff during that mapping section where we map out the call handling. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even the ISDN, you might even remember, when we all had ISDN phone lines in businesses, those old, used to be called DDIs, they can still be ported as well. Phone numbers are actually owned sort of globally by Openreach in the UK, so we're able to move them from anywhere to anywhere. That's part of the Ofcom legislation. I'm going to stop talking next. I can talk forever on this subject. But yeah, you'll take your old numbers with you.
Okay. If you receive a call on Teams when you're outside the UK, will international charges apply?
No, because it's over the internet. That person is phoning your phone number, and you're actually receiving and answering that call over the internet. That's right, isn't it, Holly? I should double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's true.
Spot on. Yeah.
So it's a bit like if you were to phone someone via WhatsApp. It's the same concept. It's just going over the internet.
We use an 0800 0300 number. Will it work with this?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So 0800 and 0300 numbers, what they do, they're almost like a hunt group in the cloud, actually, in reality. So the way they're set up, you purchase an 0800 or 0300 number, and it actually just points to deliver calls to a standard phone number. So that phone number will be one of your Teams numbers, which then might deliver calls to, let's say, a hunt group. So if I as a beneficiary ring your 0800 number, in the background, that call actually just goes to one of your Teams numbers, and then you then control it in the usual way via the admin center. So you might tag that one as this is our helpline 0800 number, and then it just delivers to the users, and you can switch up and change those users who receive those calls, within seconds yourself if someone's on leave or whatever. So yep, absolutely.
Duncan had a question earlier about card payments and donations over the phone to use PCI Telecom donors, but he said that his question was about entering card details, not call recording. I think we got the wrong end of his question. Don't know if you can answer that or you would follow up with that for him.
Yeah,
sorry, go on, Holly, after you.
Thanks, James. So it's the same sort of answer. There will be an additional portal, like an additional product that you can bolt onto it. It'll be a discussion we probably need to have in a bit more detail as to what options are out there, but it will need to be kind of connected into Teams. So it's something else that you'll need to bolt onto that solution to enable you to make payments over the phone.
Yeah, I think I'd just add, the base at a high level, the ability to use the number pad to enter, press 1 for whatever, or put in your card details, or even hear numbers. The platform has that ability like any other phone system. So it's no different to that. And we just need to look at what your payment provider is, and when asked them, do they integrate with Microsoft Teams Voice? I'd bet my house on that they do, because it's a Microsoft integration at the end of the day, as Holly alluded to at the start. This is a phone system like many other phone systems, like Mitel or whatever you might have a Avaya. This is on a par with that. So as long as it can integrate with Microsoft, then your third-party payment systems will be able to integrate with it. You've actually got a better chance of it integrating than if you had a small phone system that was, a little basic system. So pretty sure we can cover that, Duncan. The PCI thing is also, very often, just for others, if you are taking payments, that one of the requirements is you have to stop call recording during the time in which the person's giving their phone number, their card number over the phone. That can't be recorded. So again, the recording add-ons have the ability to do that. They'll recognise a call recorder, recognise a card number coming up, or the operator has the ability to just pause the recording during that giving of the card number. Sorry.
Okay, we use Google Workspace, not Teams. Is there any way to have Teams telephony consolidated?
Yeah, just saw that one come in actually. As far as I'm aware, you would need the Teams app on those devices. Microsoft Teams as an application is compatible with Macs and iPads and all of the Apple ecosystem. If you're using that, obviously it works with Windows. But yeah, I don't believe there's any kind of full integration with things like Google Hangouts, for example. So you would still need the Teams app on that device, and then that's where your phones come in and out of. So it will work, but it's not going to be fully integrated. Like, for example, if you use Gmail and you're out of office, you put on Teams isn't going to know that your out of office is therefore on, so therefore flick to your out of office voicemail message, because they are two separate systems. You can have it on your devices.
Okay, last couple of questions. Would you guys help finding and setting up the PCI compliance third-party app?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we'll take that one offline. If you want to get in touch, actually, we've got your name there, Antonio. So yeah, we'll have a chat with you afterwards to put forward a couple of options on that front. Yeah, that's no problem.
So we can purchase a block of Teams DDIs and only be charged for the numbers allocated to a license?
That's a great question. Yeah, so having more telephone numbers than users. I'm going to lean on Holly, because I think the DDIs are either free or incredibly cheap, aren't they, as a standalone?
Yeah, spot on. So it's going to cost you next to nothing really to add a new DDI, and you can keep those DDIs in the system. We'll only charge you a rental if that DDI is assigned to a Microsoft user. So again, you can have literally 1,000 DDIs, but then only 10 users. It's really up to you, and we'd only charge you those 10 user licenses.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Fabulous.
One last question. Have we got time?
Yeah, we've got 6 minutes.
Okay. How easy is it to increase or decrease extension numbers in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. So so right now you can go up and down users on a monthly rolling basis with Microsoft licensing. In particular, Microsoft are actually bringing something called NCE to the charity licensing world next year. They've announced this wasn't applied. This won't just apply to Teams Voice, by the way. This will apply to Microsoft 365, Business Premium, all of that stuff. So that means that you buy a block of user numbers. Let's say you buy 100, and then over the 1 year, you can't actually go down in numbers on the fixed cost. So let's say £2.60 per year. It's slightly complicated, but basically they've aligned what they already do in the corporate world. They are bringing that to the non-profit licensing world. So right now until January, you can buy it, and for the next 12 months as well, way past that deadline, you'll be able to go up and down because you're buying it on the like a pay-as-you-go model. come January, as I say, they're changing it so that you have to buy a fixed allocation at the current advertised rate. What you can do is, what most people do is they buy, let's say, 75% of their staffing base. So if they're 100 users, 75 users they buy licenses for. The 25 that remain, they pay on a pay monthly subscription, but that is about 20% more than the £2.60. It's a little bit more expensive for that ability to flex up and down. So you kind of hedge your bets almost to say, right, most of our staff will cover the fixed license. We have sort of rolling monthly for the rest. It's a bit of a blend. Actually, we're doing a webinar tomorrow. Actually, if you're interested about Microsoft licensing with Microsoft, that's on our events page. So you might want to attend that because we'll go into a bit more detail on it. But yeah, essentially, up until December, yes. From Jan onwards, you can. We'd work with you to map out. We fix at 75% and at 25% variable. But yeah, I hope that makes sense. I'm happy to have a further chat on that, but it's quite a big change actually that's coming to Microsoft licensing next year. Okay, great stuff. Is there any more questions there, Inga?
One from Andy, also needing guidance on PCI compliance.
Yeah, great stuff. So yeah, there's a couple of follow-ups that we'll reach out to you folks individually, just for a chat on that one, and just talk through some options. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate you all taking time out of your mornings to come and learn about Teams Voice. As I say, there's resources on the slides that will be followed up with, and yeah, we'll be very happy to chat further with you, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.